Hello, everyone. I'm Jo Allen of Relation One, your moderator today. Thank you for joining our webinar on customer journeys. We're going to be joined shortly by Etienne DeLacroix, Director of Consulting Services here at Relation One. Before we do that, I just want to make sure we go through a little bit of housekeeping. You see the ability to ask questions via the chat function, which we'll be keeping an eye on throughout the webinar. If we, for whatever reason, don't have time to answer all of your questions during the webinar itself, we'll make sure to follow up with you directly one-on-one. Okay, so now without further ado, I'd like to introduce Etienne Delacroix, Director here at Relation One.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for participating to this session today. So my name is Etienne. I'm a Director of Consulting Services at Relation One. I have a background in data-driven marketing, and I worked with different industries such as retail, banking, or telecommunications in the past. This is usually how what I look like, and so I'm just doing Movember these days. So this is how I look like these days. So you can picture myself. I'm not a big fan of mustache, so I hope it's going to be December pretty soon. And it's in a few days, my mustache will be over. So that's just my brief presentation for today. I'll jump in a few minutes deeper in the topic. I just want to share just one slide about the Relation One. So who are we? We are a data-driven marketing company, so dedicated to true personalization. So it's real one-to-one communication across the different channels, from strategy to execution. This is what we do for our clients of different industries. This webinar is actually following up the data marketing trade show that was held in Toronto last week. My colleague Mike Gautry gave a conference about how personalization is the future of loyalty. He shared the different numbers for those who have attended to this conference. It's important to keep in mind that customer experience is really the new differentiator today for the different brands across the different markets. Gartner says that 89% of companies expect to compete around customer experience during the next few years. And this is why I wanted to share more today about customer journey. It's really a key component of customer experience. And I think it's sometimes a word that is words that are a bit overused, customer journey. So it's important to define them for our session today. So the definition that I suggest for today is that, and there is not one single truth, but I like this one. It's a customer journey illustrates the steps your customers go through in engaging with your company, whether it be a product, an online experience, retail experience, or a service, or any combination. So this is what we're going to talk in more details. A few words about the context. So we all know that shopping has fundamentally changed during the last few years. Nowadays, we are in a more connected world, more digital. The customers are much more informed. They have access to smart technologies to keep them connected in an omni-channel world. And that's why in my opinion, customer journey has never been as complex as of today, and why also it's really more crucial to tackle this and make sure we are offering a relevant experience to our clients. So the clients and the customers are more connected, they are more informed. As a consequence, they are also more demanding. So let's consider the level of relevancy that they tolerate from the different brands. So there are a few sources of information, and it has been really showed up in the past that actually they were pretty tolerant when a brand that was not really let's say relevant for them. So they were pretty tolerant, it was okay. But now that they are more connected and more informed, they're in a way they don't necessarily tolerate that the brand is not capturing well, or I mean leveraging well their personal information. So they don't want to be disappointing from the different brands. They are aware they generate data. So we all have, as marketers, to keep that in mind, to make sure that, yes, it's good to capture some personal data. We want to make sure that it serves the customer experience to make it more relevant. So why is it important to consider customer journeys? We're going to see, basically, it goes back to, let's say, in marketing in general. So it's to have a better acquisition, a better customer retention, and we want to make sure it's going to help to become or to remain a leader. And we all know those different brands who made their success around customer experience, such as Airbnb, LinkedIn, Amazon, and so forth. So, and they really, for them, customer experience and customer journey was really like an industry disruptor for them, and that's on this that they made their success during the last few years. So to define a bit more why it's considered customer journey, so it's to meet and exceed customer expectation. This is to develop empathy towards clients, what they live, what type of experiences and emotions they are living, to better understand their objectives, what they do, what they don't do, to engage them more and more and make them recommend your brand as ambassadors, and also to base your business decisions on what's best for the customer. What I'd like to share with all of you today is also a more detailed view of the customer journey with the suggested stages. And why suggested stages? It's because there is not a specific number that the real truth around customer journey. I like to consider this view, it has to be adapted based on your business, based on your reality, based on your industry. So let's consider those 7 stages as a generic approach today. So the first one is awareness. So as a customer, I hear about a product or a service, mostly through mass approach. Acquisition, I enter in an acquisition phase, so I interact with a brand or service for the very first time through a specific channel. Onboarding, I am welcome. I get more and more familiar with the brand or the service. I can evaluate what is offered, and if I want to move forward. And if I move forward, I convert. I convert based on the objective. It could be to purchase, it could be to fill in a form, to book for an appointment based on the reality of the business. I'm engaged. I'm part of the best customers because I purchase more. I develop a better relationship with the brand. My value declines, so I am in a re-engagement stage. I am less engaged, and less going to be like probably not a customer anymore because I don't purchase anymore, for example, with a specific brand or retailer. So I need to be reactivated. So the last stage will be reactivation. So that concludes I would say, the theoretical part of the webinar. And just before sharing the different guidelines and simple ways to enhance your customer journey, Joe, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think I have got a question for our audience because, I think you'll agree in the audience that a lot of the things that Etienne just showed us, we all know as marketers that, none of that is new. You haven't heard that. But what we hear from our clients often is that they have different challenges. It's not that they don't know what they're supposed to do, but they do have challenges actually doing it. So we wanted to ask you in the audience, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing in actually implementing your customer journeys the way that you would like to? So we've got a polling question in front of you, and you just have to click your choice, and please make sure you click submit. So we'll give everyone a moment to make your selection right now for our audience here, because this will help Etienne just tailor the content a little bit more. So for everyone that's participating, it'll just take a moment. We've got most of you have submitted. We'll just wait a couple more seconds. We've got 50% having voted. All right, a couple more. Looks like so far, we're going to share it once everybody's done. I think everybody's voted now, so let's share it out with you. So it looks like the majority, 50% of you, say data. And that is not surprising because that is very consistent with what we've seen from our client base as well. So whether it is from getting access because you need to get permission from IT as an example, or how do I get that consolidated view? How do I actually turn the data into insights? All of those things really are very consistent. So Etienne, with that, I'm going to turn it back to you now.
Yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, this is true. I'm not very surprised that data is a big concern. This is what we see with our clients every day. So it's important to keep that in mind. And the good news is that we're going to speak more in details around the customer data during the next few slides. 5 guidelines to follow. We'll start. It's really the combination of the different guidelines that's going to drive success. So let's start with the first one. What I suggest is the first guideline is to do like a current situation analysis. Everything starts with the business needs. So as marketers, I would say, what is our strategic planning? What do we want to prioritize? Is it around acquisition? Is it retention? Is it like a specific market, specific type of customers? Do we want to emphasize more on best customers, for example, on new customers? This is what needs to be defined around the business needs in this first stage of the analysis. The second one is around providing a customer journey overview. So I shared like the 7 suggested stages that I see as a generic approach around customer journey. Based on your reality, you need to define yourself. What does it mean in your own world and your own business? Conversion. Is it a purchase? Is it a completion form? It has to be pretty defined and detailedly defined within your organization. What do the different stages mean? And a concrete tool that can be used also is, let's say, your own customer journey grid to assess your own customer journeys. And this is what I want to share is the different, let's say, dimensions of this grid. So you're going to see the 7 different stages, or 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on your reality. So what you're going to do first is to add like the task, the definition of the stage. What does the client is trying to achieve at this specific stage? What are the type of questions that he can get? So he's asking. What are the different touch points in an omni-channel world? Let's say around like conversion, for example. What are the main channel or the channel that is converging with your business? What does he leave around emotions, around pain points and irritants, around influences? This is what you want to consider to fill in this grid and really help you to take ownership of this customer journey within your organization. That's the first guideline to assess this analysis. The second one is specifically around data. So what is the type of data that is available within my organization? So it's a data inventory, and what I would like to get and that I don't have access to today. So around customer data, it's going to be like declarative data, let's say in a preference center, for example, behavioral data. So it's browsing history of customers on my website, for example. And it could be transactional data, meaning let's say all the purchase history of my clients during the last months, last years. It's also around segmentations. So let's say the capability to access to my best customers' behavior through a RFM, so recency frequency monitoring. It could be around RFE, recency frequency engagement. It could be segmentations around, let's say, promotional sensitivity, price sensitivity, editorial sensitivity, for example, could be the segmentation that can be leveraged to better work on the customer journey. It could be also product or service data, like product catalog, service offering, for example, of information, content data, or even external data if it has better relevancy to my journey, such as, let's say, statistics, weather, events, and so forth. So that's the first 2 guidelines. The third one is actually to prioritize, it's actually a combination of the first ones. So based on the current situation analysis that has been achieved and the data inventory that is identified and that is required, it's going to help. This combination is really going to help to prioritize and answer to that type of questions. So what are the type of customer segment and customer target that I want to tackle first? Which stage of the journey is really key? Let's say it's an onboarding phase, it's a conversion phase. What is, like, from what I know from my customer, from my performance, what I understand is that I really need to solve a problem at this specific stage. What are, for example, the major pain points or irritants for my valuable customers who deserve like a specific treatment? What are the type of offers and content I want to push in these different stages? This is the type of questions that we need to ask ourselves to be able to prioritize. A few additional insights to help you to prioritize. We want to make sure that we're going to be in a customer-centric approach and customer-centric mode. So not everything starts with the product, but with the customers. So every business decision has to take this customer in the first priority and take the customer into account. We want to make sure that we get access to customer insights, not only for reporting or analytics, but really to action them, meaning, yeah, I'm able to identify my best customers, but I'm able to, let's say, to trigger a specific journey for them because my data is really actionable. And in many cases, we see with our clients that, yes, there is data available somewhere, but it's not necessarily ready to be actioned upon. So this is what we want to keep in mind to better prioritize. And the third element will be around the focus of around best customers. So the ability of your company to really identify better the best customers, offer them a better treatment is really key by considering the priorities. If I don't really know where to start, I would say that in many cases, I need to start with my best customers. And the best customers is, of course, a very, very important, but also, let's say, at-risk customers could be taken into account to prioritize, and also new customers. If I know that there are a lot of new customers in that period of time, I really need to make sure that they are well onboarded and to have a better engagement later in the process. So that covers the third guideline. The fourth one is really around make sure that we keep focus on the customer. It looks pretty simple, but in many cases, the organization it's really easy to get lost with internal constraints, like discussions with IT, with data that is not available. We need to go back always to the customer. Some of you might know this quote from Jeff Bezos, is that in his opinion, the customer was not really here for every meeting, so he decided to dedicate a specific chair, empty chair, to every meeting to make sure that people never forget about the customer and always make decisions by thinking about and thinking of the customer first. The fifth guideline is to make sure that it's going to be a participative approach. So it's making progress on customer journey and makes things happen. It's going to go through internal workshops. We want to make sure that during those workshops, the different teams of the company are involved. So of course, it's marketing. In my opinion, it's really marketers who need to take ownership of the customer journey. It can involve also other teams who do have relationship with the clients and direct relationships, such as like call center or customer service. We also, of course, want to make sure that we're going to leverage and integrate data expertise with somebody from the customer analytic team. And we want to make sure that it's going to be a co-validation approach to avoid a siloed effect. So you shared the type of challenges you are facing by making progress around customer journey. I would say that a lot of the challenges to our, in many cases, around organizational challenges, because too many times the customer journey strategy remains in the hand of marketing, but is not necessarily well understood and well spread across the organization. So going back to those 5 guidelines, I would say that once again, some can look pretty like common principle, but it's really the combination of doing the five together well that is bringing value, and with the necessary level of detail to be meaningful. From now, I will share a few examples, like concrete examples around customer journey that I think are pretty relevant. So let's start first with onboarding. On the left, you have like Jean Coutu. It's a big pharmaceutical retailer here in Quebec. So who also has presence in Ontario and New Brunswick in this program. So the idea is really to invite new clients to complete their profile, to better understand them, and being able to offer personalization experience pretty quickly in the journey. Still in the healthy business, Jameson, so around vitamins, presents at the beginning of a welcome email program what are going to receive the clients. Is it like around what type of content, what type of promotions and coupons? This is pretty well presented in this example. We also in the retail business, in the fashion industry, Ardennes, they welcome their VIP clients with like specific offers, so 10% off for everybody. They invite to share content around customer experience around social media. And we have also in the financing business with Desjardins, so a big bank here in Quebec. It's around financing, so based on what customers has browsed or has not browsed on the website, it's a dynamic content on the welcome series. So a series of different emails that are adapted on a one-to-one basis based on the people that have on the content that people browsed or didn't browse. Other examples around conversion. So in that case, we are also in the financing business. So with Co-Power, so in that case, the conversion is not necessarily a purchase, but it's really to make sure that it's an invitation to complete application, to receive more information around the financing options that they are offering. We also have again in retail with Clément. It's like baby and kids clothes. It's regarding cart abandonment. So let's say somebody has browsed on the website and left an item in the cart. Here we have like some reassurance elements that are directly integrated in the communication. There is a one-to-one reminder of the item that has been left in the cart, and there is also the sense of urgency with like hurry up. This is limited quantity, so if you really have an interest in this specific product, you should act fast. I keep going with another example here in the conversion stage. This is around browse abandonment. So this is a Best Buy in the electronics business. So what's interesting is that for Best Buy, it's very important to get access to the purchase intent. So let's say you browsed on the website during the last few days or the last few weeks, and you had a specific look to specific products. If you haven't purchased them yet, I want to make sure that I'm going to remain at top of mind, and you're going to see these specific products within your communications, so one-to-one newsletter that is generated with a dynamic content as well on an individual basis. Let's continue the journey with engagement. It's a Tangerine, so financing business, educational tools that are specifically communicated in that stage of the journey. So showing like editorial content and help and advice to make sure that they guide well their clients in their financing decisions. Other examples, engagement as well with post-purchase. So this is Triangle, so Canadian Tire. After a specific purchase, they offer like rebate for the next purchase. They invite to do a product review. They offer like extended warranty options for the specific product that has been purchased. This is what is communicated in post-purchase trigger programs. We have, again, in Ardennes, so still going back to the fashion business, a few days after the purchase has been made, an invitation to share customer experience on social media, an invitation to complete your profile and getting access to free shipping on the next order. and also like one-to-one product recommendations based on what has been purchased, what is relevant or what could be relevant for you to as a next purchase. So handled also on a one-to-one basis. We're going to switch the industry. Let's continue the journey around ongoing engagements. So this is Sunwing in the travel business. So prior to a trip that has been booked, the customer is going to receive like insurance upsell options, invitation to choose a specific seat, specific room, to pre-purchase like luggage upgrades, excursion, for example. This is the different type of options that are offered prior to the trip and communicated on a one-to-one basis. And there is during the trip, so like more around experience, like welcome to your destination. You have like the mobile app promotion for the people who has not installed the mobile app while they are away, to make sure that they get access to all the details they need during experimenting their trip. And then once the trip is over, to get their feedback and experience sharing after the trip. About re-engagement, this is like Mervish, so this is more in the entertainment business, theaters in Toronto. It's really a program where we send offers to lapsed customers in order to drive a new ticket purchase. And this is based on also on a one-to-one basis, based on a different combination of like how recent was the last purchase, what was the number of past purchases that has been made. The show proximity is also taken into account. The type of show viewed in the past and the price range, for example, are taken into account to make sure that this is really, really relevant for the people who do receive those communications. On the journey, next example is around Viga. So it's healthy products as well in the healthy business. So it's regarding like a back in stock program. The customer was about to purchase a product, but it's out of stock. So he receives the first notification, will be in touch when the product will be available. The second one, informing the clients that the wait is over. So an invitation to get it today. And after a few days, if the client has not reacted, he received like a specific offer to make sure that to accelerate, the purchase of this product. And they're wondering if he's still interested in purchasing it for now. So that's a few examples to help you to better appropriate and take ownership of your customer journey within your organization, to make sure that it remains concrete too. And I would say, like in a nutshell, to conclude, like regarding the different key takeaways, we want to make sure that you're going to involve the different stakeholders within the organization. So once again, marketers for sure, customer and data analytics team as well. We want to make sure that we identify the type of customer data that needs to be captured, and even in priority. Is it mostly like behavioral data? Is it transactional data? Is it declarative data? This is what we want to identify clearly. We want to leverage the data to analyze and prioritize, like we saw in the different guidelines, to really like based on the analysis that has been made. We don't want to wait to get a full understanding of everything before making the first steps. So what we want to do is act. So let's start small. Let's be realistic. It could be complicated to have like a full understanding of the omni-channel customer journey. So let's start by a few priorities. Let's test, learn, and optimize along the journey. So how we can help? We can help around customer journey workshops, get internal alignment, as is one of the challenges that we see the most within the different organizations that we are working with, to define the priorities. Make sure you can like get concrete wins and quick wins pretty quickly. Customer journey mapping, how we define the different rules, and customer journey implementation. So once it has been mapped and the strategy has been defined, how we make it happen by getting like concrete implementations, results, and the basis for improvement in the future. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me questions or information directly to me with my email address, and I'd be happy to share more with you during the future.
And in fact, Etienne, now is probably a great time to open it up because we actually do have some questions from our audience. So feel free, anyone participating, use your chat feature if you would like to ask us any questions. So the first one from the audience, Etienne, what tools or platforms are you using to collect the customer engagement data and pull personalized contextual content?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, some of you might know there are a lot of tools on the market, and it's not necessarily easy to choose let's say, the best one. We are not here at Relation One really attached to a specific technology, but what I can say from what I see in the market, we have like different options that are pretty relevant. I think I would say first let's say Salesforce Marketing Cloud. That is really an amazing tool to really work on this, capture the right data, develop the relevant journeys. It's not always very easy to do, but it's a pretty powerful tool. And with like Journey Builder, let's say feature, for example, within the tool, you can like really tackle specific stages of the journey pretty easily. So I would say if I had to quote one, I would say Marketing Cloud. We have like other solutions on the market of IBM, Oracle, and so. I would say all those big ones. With Adobe too, we have like relevant tools. The thing you want to make sure is to get the right skills with the right people to really work on those tools. Once again, when you have like a software demonstration, everything looks pretty easy, but when you want to really work on it, it's not always the case. And at Relation One, we also have like I would say another CDP, so customer data platform that can be leveraged. That is called R1.ai. Is also it offers an additional layer to make it easier. So if you want to know more, please connect, and I'll be glad to share more information.
Terrific, thanks. And knowing that our audience is really interested in data, I would love to see a show of hands. If you guys can click on the raise your hand function, if you're interested in a webinar that perhaps speaks specifically around data, because we saw, there's a lot of elements like governance, accessing it, how do you have that conversation with other stakeholder groups in your company that allow you to get access to the data that potentially isn't under marketing's control? How do you consolidate? How do you get the insights? So thank you for the show of hands. That's super helpful. And maybe just one last question. I want to be mindful of everybody's time, Etienne. So for anybody who's asked a question that we haven't had time to answer, we will respond to you directly one-on-one. So one last question, and perhaps we'll pick up data because we know that's the one that's the most important to most people. What type of data should I be collecting?
Hey, good question again, for sure. The type of data that needs to be captured, I would say, depends on your business. So that's the first part of the answer. It's not helpful, but what I could say is, let's consider your business. If it's, we share the examples around the low frequency business, such as electronics. It could be like hardware, for example. You want to make sure that you have the right data to detect purchase intent. So in many cases, it's going to be, let's say, browsing history. Let's say the browsing on the website shows that you have a high interest in, purchasing a TV soon. So I should, in the electronic business, I should be able to, by collecting this data, to make sure that I understand that, and I need to address specific communications quickly to make sure that I am in a better position to guide you through your TV purchase. Let's consider the opposite, the high frequency business, such as pharmacy or grocery, for example. You don't necessarily need a browsing behavior because it's not necessarily the most helpful. What you need is really transactional data, so access to the purchase history. Because let's say in the grocery business, the type of products you purchased last week or last month is going to be pretty similar to what you probably going to buy the next time you're going to shop at the specific grocery stores. So in that case, I would prioritize more transactional data than behavioral data. So I hope it helps.
Terrific. Thank you. Okay, so we are now at the time. We would like to keep our promise to you. We said we would be closing off within the 35-minute window. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will be sending out the presentation as a follow-up. We would love to hear your feedback about how you found this 35 minutes with us. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.